One of the major challenges I faced while planning the route for the All India trip in 2010-11 was to find an appropriate entry point to get into Manipur, to go to Imphal. The problem was compounded by the negative stories that came out of the state about kidnappings, assaults, ransom demands, and even murders, because a large number of underground outfits were functioning in the state. I was told that law and order had almost completely broken down and it was not very safe state to travel in. After a lot of deliberations, I was told that the best way to probably get into Manipur was the border of Mizoram via Ngopa and northeast Khudungsai by crossing the river Tuivi and go to Churachandpur in Manipur and from then on to Imphal. That was then the decided route for Manipur. Having decided to go to Manipur via the border of Mizoram, I set out from Aizawl to one of the border villages called Ngopa, where I had a contact from the Intelligence Bureau. When I reached Ngopa, my contact told me that it would be better to halt the night at northeast Khudungsai, which was about 15 to 20 minutes drive away from Ngopa. But that was the border village before we crossed over River Turai into Manipur. So in keeping with the suggestions that he had given, I motored to northeast Khudungsai. When I reached there at about 4 o'clock, and as you know in the northeast, it becomes dark by about 4:30, 5 o'clock. It was already time for people to wind up their day's activities, and I could find that there was hardly any activity going on in the village. And I didn't have a place to stay there in northeast Khudungsai. So I walked around the place after parking my car, and I found that there was a very large Presbyterian church in the near vicinity. And I got into the premise of the church, and I looked inside, and I found that there were very good benches and desks inside the church. And then I thought to myself, it would be a good idea to gain entry into the church and spend the night there, because I had a sleeping bag with me. I could even park the car safely inside the church premises. I wanted to then meet somebody who permits me that entry into the church, and I walked around the church and came upon a small building outside of which was written Pastor Quarters. And outside the quarters, there were 3 men in dirty overalls working on the ground, and a young lady with a child tied to the back serving them tea. So I asked that lady whether I could meet the pastor. I didn't find any response. So I repeated my question, and one of the men who was working suddenly shot up, pointed to himself and said, "I am the pastor." The man was wearing a torn banian and a dirty half pant, and he had a small sun hat on his head. When he introduced himself as the pastor, I asked him whether I could spend the night inside the church. And I also told him that I was on my way from Kerala to Manipur. I was completely overwhelmed. He had not asked me my name. He had not asked me where I had come from. He did not ask me what is the purpose of my visiting that place. And he did not even ask me where I was going to. I had only told him that I had come from Kerala and I am on my way to Manipur. But apart from that, he did not want to know any details about me. He was just offering hospitality, pure and simple. Not only did the good pastor offer me a bed and food, at 2:30 in the morning the next day, he woke me up, gave me a hot tub of water to have a bath and get myself ready for the morning drive behind a set of sumos that was supposed to leave from northeast Khudungsai to Churachandpur. The journey is through dense jungle, so I was advised that it is much better to follow these sumos which take these regular trips in the morning to Churachandpur. So at 3 o'clock, I lined myself up behind a sumo which was set to leave for Churachandpur. When I was getting ready for the drive at 3 o'clock in the morning, one of the village people came to me and asked if I could carry a passenger with me. Now, normally, since my drive is a solo drive, I do not carry any passengers with me. But that day, some inner voice told me that I should consider the request. So the village person brought to me a young man with a bleeding foot and introduced to me Swan, who turned out to be a guardian angel of that day. I adjusted the luggage which was in the passenger seat in the front to the rear. It was a small car, the Maruti Swift, so I had very little maneuvering space, but I made room for Swan to sit in the front. And he had this bleeding foot and he very gingerly sat inside the car. In a short while, the sumo in front of me started its journey and I followed. It was pitch dark. Nothing could be seen except what I could pick up with the headlight. Shortly we passed the river Tuai, which is the border between Mizoram and Manipur. Just after the bridge, there was hardly any road. There were big boulders on the road and there were huge tracks made by big vehicles. And I was not very sure whether my small Maruti Swift would be able to take that route. The sumo suddenly vanished because it was able to drive very fast and then that just vanished into the darkness. And I was left alone with Swan in my car to navigate as much as I could on that road. Grating sounds of these big boulders on the undercarriage and the groaning sound of the tire resisting the kind of road that it was made to travel on made me very, very anxious. After a while, the vehicle just couldn't move. So then Suvan got down and there was a slight drizzle. He got down and then told me that there is a puncture on the car. I got down from the car and inspected the tire and I found that the tire had been torn to shreds. It hadn't been used anymore. I was carrying 2 jacks in the car, but then the road was so narrow and there were big boulders and these huge tracks on the road that I couldn't put the jacks on the road. Those jacks were inadequate to do the kind of work it was meant to do. So then I shut down the engine and I found that on my mobile phone there was no signal. So it was at a trough of a small hillock. So Suvan suggested that we walk a bit up the hill and possibly get some signal on the mobile phone. So we started trudging slowly up and I found that a notch came on the mobile signal. I tried my contact in Ngopa at that hour. It was about 3:30. Fortunately, Singsit, my contact in Ngopa, took the phone and I told him my condition and I told him exactly where I was. And then I said that I need urgent help because my tire is gone and I just can't move either forward or back. So he promised to send me some help soon. And with that conversation, the signal again vanished. So we worked further on. And after a while, I could see Suvan slowly turning his head and perking his ears. And then in a short while he said, "Sir, can you hear that sound?" Suvan is an English teacher in the village and therefore had excellent communication skills. So I said, "Suvan, but I can't hear anything." He said, "No sir, there is a truck coming from the Manipur area going into Mizoram. So we will have, within 15 minutes, we will have a truck coming this way." So we waited and sure enough, within about 10 minutes, a massive truck came our way. And then since we were obstructing the passage of the truck, they stopped. The large truck was carrying a few people and Suvan spoke to them in their local language. And very soon, they were able to jack up the Maruti Swift using their big jacks and change the wheel. Once the wheel was changed, they also managed to push it to one side so that their big truck could pass by and carry on its way to Mizoram. So once the truck was gone, I got to the car and then decided to again try to go forward. By that time, it had become much more daylight, and I could see that the road ahead was very, very difficult to navigate. But I decided to try again. It's like, you have to push your limits. So I decided to try again and went a bit further, maybe about 50 meters, and then I found that it was impossible to pass with a Maruti Swift on that road. So then I decided, probably the best decision I took that day, I decided to turn the car around and get back to northeast Khudungsai. At times, retreat is also a victory, and it happened that way. I managed to turn the car around and started driving towards Mizoram, that is northeast Khudungsai. Suddenly, I could hear a hiss of air escaping from the front left wheel. I didn't know what to do because I didn't have another spare wheel with me. I stopped the car, was got out from the car and saw that air had completely escaped from the left front wheel because the rim had been slightly bent. What could we do? Again, Suan and his ears came to my help. He again cocked his head, perked his ears, and then said, "Sir, there is another convoy coming our way." And sure enough, in less than a quarter of an hour, 2 huge trucks came by. And Suan again explained to them the problem that we were facing. What those guys did was, they helped me take the defective wheel out, and Suan told me that I would stay when the car was disabled. He would take both the tires to the village, try to get it repaired, and bring it back and put it back on the car. I said that it would be a better idea to park the car there, lock it, and I would also accompany the truck to the village, get it repaired, and somehow come back in a borrowed vehicle. So I put both the defective wheels into the truck, took some of my belongings, parked the car, and then got into the truck and started driving towards northeast Khudungsai. On the way, I met the emissary that my contact in Ngopa had sent, a person called Kham. He was on his motorbike with a mechanic behind him. That is when I met Muan. Muan is a mechanic, a Manipuri mechanic. He had lost a leg in a civil strife in Manipur, and he had migrated to northeast Khudungsai, and he was running his own small little mechanic shop. So then I explained to them the problem, and then Muan said that he would also come to northeast Khudungsai and get the tires repaired. So he accompanied me. We went to northeast Khudungsai. Once we reached there, Muan assured me that he would get the vehicle in order in about 3 hours' time. He took the tires to his friend's tire shop, and the friend told him that one of the tires, there's nothing that could be done with it because it was shredded. The other wheel, he was able to repair the rim, fill up air in that, and then get the tire ready to be put back on the Maruti Swift. Mohan took me to his very humble dwelling, a wooden structure, just a one-room tenement on the banks of a small stream. He was living alone, and he told me to take rest there, and he said, "Treat this as your own house." And he introduced me to some of the villagers there and said that this is my uncle. Take care of him as you would take care of my uncle. And then he pointed out a small tea shop and said, "Go there and have your tea and whatever you want." Saying that, he and Suan left, and Suan told me that he would find some of his friends going towards Churachandpur, and then he took leave of me. I gave him a small tip and he left. So did Mohan. I spent the next 3 hours in that small village, in that small building. I went to the tea shop, drank a few cups of tea, had a few boiled eggs and some biscuits. So I was feeling quite happy and nice when by about 1:30, Mohan brought the car to the village. I was really shocked. I truly thought the car would have broken down, and it was not just the tires, even the undercarriage of the car would have been affected is what I thought. But miraculously, Mohan got the car. And then he took me in the car to his friend's place, did a checkup of all the four tires, and told me that it is fit to reach up to Aizawl. The only thing he told me is that on the way, if I felt that the air was a bit less, I should just go into a tire shop and get it filled up till I reach Aizawl and then change the tires. It was around 3 p.m. by when Muan told me that I could drive back to Ngopa and onwards to Aizawl. Since it was already late, I decided to stay overnight at Ngopa. I spoke to Singh Sid in Ngopa and he said he would arrange a guest house there. But before I left, I wanted to get something to the women and men and kids who had done me so well for about 7 to 8 hours in that village and almost thrown up on the entire village in hospitality. So I opened the boot of my car and a few compact discs where I had recorded Hindi and English songs tumbled out of the boot. And many of these children ran and picked them up. And then some of the women asked what it was. So I told them that they had songs, Hindi and English songs. So then they said, "Uncle, can we keep these?" So I said, "I would be very grateful if you could accept these as my gift." And not only did I part with about 10 or 12 CD-ROMs, but I also gave them biscuits and whatever small little treats that I had, chocolates. I gave them. It was around 3:30 by when I took leave of that community. It was not just the house that Muan had thrown over to me, or the tea shop where I was treated with such respect, and the whole village that had turned out in almost treating me as their uncle. It brought home to me the fact that Goodwill truly knows no boundaries. Not only that, this gave me an opportunity to push my limits as far as I could. But most importantly, what really struck me was an entire village had sort of adopted me in hospitality. And these were the guardian angels that looked after me.